All right, welcome everyone. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We want to say thank you to all that are in attendance, in person and online. We'll start with our land acknowledgement. Dr. Sweeting.
We honor the first peoples of these lands by acknowledging that the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Stillaguamish tribe of Indians. The Stillaguamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their ancestors have remained in this territory to this day. The Stillaguamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Stillaguamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors who believe that everything has a spirit and that they are caretakers of these lands and waters.
Thank you very much. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please rise and join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, we'll have our roll call attendant, Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond.
Here.
Director Kelly.
Here.
President Levesque.
Here.
Director Knapp.
Here.
Student Advisor LeBon.
Here.
Student Advisor Nichols.
Here.
Superintendent Sweeting.
Here,
Thank you. Next, we'll have our approval of the regular meeting agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to change or amend in the agenda, or do we have a motion to approve it as presented?
Make a motion. Move it as presented.
I'll second. It's been moved by Director Kelly and seconded by Director Knapp to approve the agenda as presented. Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
President Levesque.
Yes.
Director Knapp.
Yes. Thank you. The agenda is adopted as presented. Next up is our presentations and recognitions portion of our program. And we're going to start with our introduction of our new student advisors. Dr. Sweeting is going to take it away.
and Britt Clemens. Good evening, board. You see that the room is filled and there are many students in the presence here. And that's because we are adding new students to our various committees, our district committees, our student advisory council. A group of us interviewed students who applied, and we were just amazed by what they shared with us, why they want to provide us with their thoughts and their voice, all to help their learning and for us as a board team to make better decisions. So we have different district committees, and I'm going to let Brittany Kleiman share the students that are joining us for the Advisory Council for Education Committee, the ACE Committee. And when she calls your name, I'd like you to come stand up over here, and we'll do each group at a time. So we're ACE.
Thank you. So I'm Britt Clayman, I'm the chair of the ACE committee currently. And man, interviewing these kids is the best. If you ever have doubts about our future, spend a few minutes in these interviews once a year, and it blows your mind the things that these kids do and their activities they're involved in. It's amazing. So I am super honored to get to introduce our new Advisory Council for Education student. Up first is Nicholas Hoffman, and he will be a freshman at AHS next year.
Come on up.
Next, Kaylin Geist. Say that right? She's here. Okay. And Michaela Harrington. She will be an eighth grader next year. Allie Kleinman. She will be a freshman next year. Carson Raz. Carson will be an 11th grader at the high school next year. Addie Smith. Addie will be a freshman next year. And then last up is Franklin Finchon.
So what I'll say about this group, we have 4 or 5 students graduating out of the ACE committee. So we're replenishing and we're very grateful. And they will serve, we prefer they serve at least 2 years, but we are honored if they can serve at least 1, but we would love 2 years. So thank you very much for joining us. So next, I would like to invite up our new student advisor. So tonight, before I invite her up, we have Mariska Baban, who we are honoring tonight because she served on the board for 2 years. A student advisor comes, they join the board when they are junior, and they serve their junior and their senior year. And so we're congratulating Mariska for moving on and going into her future, but we need to, Nathan Nichols will move into the senior spot. And then now we're looking for a junior, and we have selected that individual. And I'd like Deja Reed to come up front, please. So Deja's going to get to know the board quite well. She will join us for all the board meetings and all the study sessions and learn with us as we go to conferences. And we're excited for you to be with us. And Deja will be sworn in during the first meeting in August, and there'll be some onboarding that we will do between now and then. So she will become, with us and help us to make better decisions. Thank you, Deja. Okay, next is the next committee is the Budget Advisory Task Force, which we started last year because we needed help with looking at our expenditures and our revenues and making sure that we could align those better and make some reductions. So we have students on there to help us with those decisions. And 8th grader Xander Anderson, are you here tonight?
That's right.
And a 7th grader, Jackson Bauer. And a 12th grader, Bailey Linklater. So these individuals will join us with both committees have staff and parents on those committees. And so we learn from each other, and these particular students will help us with the money. And they were selected because on their application and in their interview, they talked about how they know what to do with money and help us save on some of our expenditures. So thank you. All right. Okay, next committee is the District Community Equity Team and Gabriel Antenzio. Gabriel's 12th grade. Did I say your last name right?
It's Atienzo.
Atienzo. Oh, that's beautiful. So thank you. And I don't think Noah is here. Nope, he's an 11th grader. Myra Cruz. Around 11th grade. And final, there's 2 more. We have Kaylee Larson. Adolfo Perez. Okay, so these individuals will join a committee that is really looking at our efforts for the equity plan and how we're doing with our implementation. They provide us with feedback about our efforts to make sure that we are removing barriers and increasing access for all students. This last year, this particular committee spent time doing a book study with Aaron Jones, and that was awesome. We really learned a lot. So we look forward to joining this group, and thank you. So and another committee, so we're bringing them all above. And the next committee is the Facility Advisory Committee. So this is a committee that talks about and look at what needs to be repaired, replacing post-middle school, and those kinds of things. And we have 2 students, Caitlin Galloway. From Caitlin and Aiden. It's unusual for students to really want to be involved in the facility advisory committee, so we thank you for that. And it's a committee that doesn't meet every month, but they meet when there's a need, and your voice will be needed on that committee. Thank you very much. Britt, tell us the last group, and these students are on the Student Advisory Council only, not another committee.
So our student advisory council meets monthly with an advisor. They kind of help on a wide variety of things and have projects. Some of them on that committee serve on other committees, some choose just to serve on the student advisory council, but super important roles. So we want to introduce Emery. Next year. Joyce. Will be in 8th grade next year. Isabella. Isabella will be a freshman next year. Chase. Chase will be in 8th grade next year. Lila. Lila will be a freshman next year. And then Harper. Now Harper will be a 7th grader next year. Welcome aboard, guys. Congratulations.
And if all the student student advisors could join me in the hallway for a group picture, that'd be great.
Thank you.
And thank you, parents, for bringing them.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Right. Everyone's okay?
Just a thought.
All right, thank you for all the service that our student advisors give to us. We want to let you all know you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. I know there's a choir concert at Howard. You're supposed to be there at 6:30 or something. Ish. And there's student parade or something, but no worries. You're welcome to stay. Next up on our agenda is our student presentation, and we have Haller Middle School art in the middle schools, and we would like to welcome up to the front our Brooke Howell, principal at Haller Middle School, Lynette Ziegler, art teacher, and art club students Kelsey Ozias and Amelia Stowe. Did I say any of those names right? I get one. Okay.
I'll
Welcome.
speak really quickly just to honor Lynette, who we lost our art teacher last year. She took a year's leave and our kids were incredibly sad. Very sad. We have a lot of kids that have that outlet and need that outlet, and Lynette jumped up. She teaches life skills for us and she's leaving us sadly enough next year to go to Weston. But she is an artist, probably the most artistic teacher I've ever been around. And as her outfit says it every day. But she took it upon herself to just host art after school for students that wanted to do it, and they embraced it, and she's just provided something for our students that they didn't have. And so we appreciate her greatly. Luckily, next year, we're gonna offer art as an elective 1 period a day. So we're very excited for that, but these kids came on board with a lot, and they're gonna talk about Eric Carl.
Yes. So as I said, it's called that I'm Lynette Ziegler and life skills teacher, but Kelsey and Amelia were some students who came to the art club that we had every Monday after school until 3:45, and I spoke to them about art and how art is life and life is art, and we learned some new styles and techniques, and sometimes they just got to sit and do their sketchbooks and modeling play and things like that. We were fortunate enough to get a budget from the ASB so we could buy some supplies just for the art club. And so Kelsey felt that they really wanted to speak, and Amelia's here for support. So I'm gonna let Kelsey speak, and that slide will stay that way. If you want to go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so Kelsey's gonna speak kind of on these things. Okay, are you ready? Okay, you can look at the school board, you can look at the places out there too. Correct.
I personally feel like art at Haller is very important in many different ways, and there's many different reasons why it should be a part of Haller again. And the three main reasons is you can learn more about others, you can your life is just a little bit more relaxing, and it just centers your energy on one thing rather than all across the whole world. And first, I'm going to talk about how it can help you learn about others that you do art with. Art is something that you can share with others, and you can show others your art, or you cannot show others your art if you would rather not. And when people do show me their art, I can learn a lot about them. Say someone likes poetry and we have an assignment on poetry, and I read their poetry and I'm like, wow, I've learned that, and it says like what happens on the beach rather than about a beach. I would be like, wow, they observe more than describe, and they like poetry rather than drawing or playing music or something. And it just helps a lot to just be with them while they do their art, so then, yeah, about them. And it makes life more, relaxing, like I've said before. It just helps you calm down, and if you're in a stressful situation at school or at home, then you can just put all of your energy into this and just clear your brain of anything else and just think about what you're doing currently rather than everything else that's happening. And it helps me personally calm down, and I know it helps a lot of other people too. And it would be really good to have that back in our school for that reason. And it also helps center your energy on one thing, because I know personally, half the sixth graders at my school bounce off the walls every day because they have too much energy. And this would help them just like calm down a little, center their energy on one thing, like I've said a couple times before. And it would just help them just be relaxed, and they wouldn't have as much energy and they wouldn't make as much noise at lunch or like in classes or anywhere else. And they'd be able to have fun, but also learn something and get their energy out in a period, and it helps just get their energy out.
Are you good, Elaine? Okay, all right, move to the next slide, please. Thank you, Kelsey. So here's some examples of some of the art that would just happen during art club. Because we were a Haller Art Club, so we had heart, because the fun is always a good thing. And some of these were just a lot of freehand. They were experimenting with some watercolors and acrylics and different types of things like that. Next slide. Again, here is some more. This happens to be, this middle one is someone who came to art club a few times, but also just in my 7th period peer tutor class, just whips that up in about, 10 minutes. And that's just temper paint, so. Yeah. Thanks. Here are some of these lovely art club folks, and this other student is a life skills student. I don't know if any of the folks got to see the Eric Carl art multimedia art display that the students did. So we came and we walked over on a field trip, and the kids got to see it all installed because it was just pieces of things. Eric Carl, we can move to the next. Eric Carl's a fascinating individual. He was a graphic designer, and a friend of his asked him to do illustrations for Brown Bear. Brown Bear, what do you see? That's the first book he ever illustrated. And then he went on this journey of starting to just write books. I also have a peer tutor program. I have about 26 students this semester as peer tutors. It's an elective class that they can sign up for. Sometimes it's surprise because they need a slot, and here they are. They always find that it's a great place to be. The peer tutors were also very much involved in the project. They collaborate with the life skills students. While we were doing it, they had a realization, a lot of them realized that they could do art. Because you don't know you can do art. I didn't really used to do art. I do set design and things like that, but To me, art is like being able to draw. COVID taught me how to draw, because I had to start doing art at home under the camera for my students, so now I can do art. So I can look at a picture and I can do it. I do a lot of book art, you know, because I love books. And so I taught this, just following that, looking at shapes, thinking about the world in shapes instead of a picture, and then the shapes create the art. They realized that some of their fellow students are artists. Watching a student just sit down and just start drawing, and they made that connection that Kelsey made so eloquently is that you connect with others when you're doing art. You learn about others when you're participating in art. And then they had a lot of nostalgia for their younger school years. Oh, to be back in elementary school and doing art all the time and being asked to get out the crayons and the markers and the glue and the scissors and the paper. It's not there anymore. You know, it's gonna be there for one period this next year, but not, you know, 6 periods a day for a semester. And feeling like they have to wait now until high school in order to be creative. These are some things that the peer tutors also talked about and discovered. So we had a collaboration between what the students were doing in the art club, what the peer tutor students were doing with them for themselves, and in collaboration with the life school students. We go to the next. So here we have some peer tutors and some life skills students. It was great because a lot of these things, I'm pointing out, you can see me pointing there, were done solely by one student. Life skills student took the cat from their favorite Eric Carle book. This is something we did for a whole month. We started reading Eric Carle books. We learned about Eric Carle. And then we started discovering what do we like about the books, what's our favorite thing. And some of these are collaborations. Like Christina Johnson did this one, but a peer tutor helped her. You know, she told the colors and she did some pressing with her hands, but it's a partner work. We do a lot of partner work with our peer tutor program. And so they got to come along on the field trip. These 6th period peer tutors had to hustle here, hustle back. These drawers over here show you what Eric Carle did. What he did was he took tissue paper and paint. And then he just started making different colors of different layers of paint, and then he would use brushes and forks and different things and make scritches and scratches, and he made the medium that made the pictures. Every single picture in Eric Carle book is tissue paper. His studio was full of walls of drawers of colors, and just our whole wall in our room was just tissue paper. Go to the next one, please. And so we had we learned a lot about all the different, you know, words we use in art. We learned tertiary, which I put the little thing up there to look. So I had to figure out how to say it. That means the 3rd color, by the way. And so we had Eric Carle here, and then the students have got a picture. The art club kids, we experimented with glow in the dark paint versus black light paint, and they did an inside things. We talked about the chemical properties and how that is working and is different. Because Eric Carle was all about color. That was the world was full of color. Okay, next one, please. And art, it's a life skill for all people. It helps with your abstract thinking, visual problem solving, spatial awareness, visual perceptual skills, fine motor skills, bilateral coordination. These are all things that we do without thinking, but art helps us do those. And then lastly, there's all of us that came on the thing. We had this whole wall, and we had some stuff on the back wall where you saw some of the students standing. Okay, and then finally, as Eric Carle said, simplify, slow down, be kind, and don't forget to have art in your life: music, paintings, theater, dance, and sunsets. And there he is. You can see him doing his work. So, final fun fact. The Hungry Caterpillar was first called Willie the Worm. Aren't we all glad it's not called that? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynette, and thank you to our students for being brave and coming forward and explaining all the beautiful things about art. We appreciate it. And you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. Next up, we're going to be honoring our 2023-24 retirees. We'd like to welcome Eric DeYoung, our Executive Director of Human Resources. Have a little presentation.
Yes, good evening.
And we had fun recognizing them.
We did, yes, we had a meeting, I guess, right before this. part of your study session where we honored our retirees. We have 19 retirees from just about every school or department in the district this year. So it was a wide representation. I think we have a slideshow. Is that right? We're going to cue that up. So without further ado, we'll take a look at that slideshow. But thank you for attending and recognizing our retirees tonight.
Thank you, Eric. That was beautiful. We wish our retirees well and we will miss them and we're thankful for all that they've done for us. Next up is our approval of our minutes. We have one set of minutes from May 28th. We have our study session and regular meeting minutes. Is there any changes or is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve minutes as presented.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Diamond and seconded by Director Knapp to approve the minutes from May 28th as presented. Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond,
Yay.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Yay.
Those meeting minutes are approved. They make me smile. Next up is our public comment portion. Do we have anyone who has signed up?
We do not.
And is there anyone in the audience who is wanting to talk to the board tonight? All right, moving on. Next up is our consent agenda that consists of our personnel report, our payroll report, warrants, outdoor schools, Washington grant approval, overnight field trip request for fifth graders to Cedar Springs Camp, and overnight travel for the school board to the WASDA conference, resolution 2409, authorization to invest funds, our superintendent's contract, Washington State Auditor's Office interagency data sharing agreement for 3 years, the Northwest ESD 189 legal services cooperative interlocal agreement, and a request for declaration of surplus. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the agenda for further discussion? Or do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
It's been moved by Director Knapp and seconded by Director Diamond to approve the consent agenda as presented. Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye.
Thank you. The consent agenda is approved as presented. Next up is our new business portion of our meeting. And the first item on the new business portion is our recognition of our student advisors to the board of directors, Marshall Gilliland. We have a resolution that we're going to read and might embarrass you a tiny little bit. That is our goal. So we're going to go ahead and we all have a little part we're going to read. This is the resolution of appreciation honoring our student advisor, Mariska Laban. Be it resolved by the Arlington Public Schools Board of Directors as follows. Whereas Mariska Laban has faithfully served as student advisor to the Arlington Public Schools Board of Directors from 2022 through 2024, and whereas Mariska Laban, while performing the duties of student advisor, also served as the president of Arlington High School Jazz Choir Flight and participated in many musical events and performances, and
Whereas Mariska Laban also combined her musical talent with drama and dancing as the character of Ariel Moore in Arlington High School's musical production of Footloose. And whereas Mariska Laban will be finishing her associate's degree at Everett Community College, pursuing a career in nursing.
Whereas Mariska Laban's bubbly personality and willingness to connect with staff and students alike has made her a valuable part of Arlington High School Eagle community. And whereas Mariska Laban asks great questions and provides valuable student perspectives and insight during the board meetings. And
Now therefore be it resolved that the Arlington Public Schools Board of Directors, meeting in its official session on June 10th, 2024, through adoption of this resolution, extends to its distinguished member, Mariska Laban, this token of appreciation and honor for services generously rendered to public education in the Arlington Public Schools.
Be it further resolved that this resolution be made part of the official record of the Arlington Public School Board of Directors, and that a copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Mariska Laban.
okay. So we're all gonna scoot over
Yeah.
so that the sign doesn't, we're gonna
Yes.
pause for a quick
Picture
picture moment. Oh, I see. And it's an action item. I know. We forgot.
Nice. Nice.
Here we in.
Good, good, good. Okay, everyone look right here. Nice big smiles. Hold it, hold it, hold it. That's great. Hold it one more. Want the flash on too, just in case. Okay, look right here. And that's great.
Thank you very much. This is also an action item. We're going to vote on this resolution. So do we have a motion to approve resolution 2408, honoring student advisor to the board of directors, Mariska Laban?
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2408.
The second.
It's been moved by Director Knapp and seconded by Director Kelly to approve resolution 2408, honoring student advisors to the board of directors, Mariska Laban. Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond,
yes.
Director Kelly. Aye. President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. We good job. We left your little card. We thank, yeah. Do you want to say a few words?
I would love to say a few words. Yeah, it truly has been a blessing to be a part of this amazing group and be introduced into the inner workings of the community that you all do such a fantastic job of making sure we run smoothly. And it has been an experience, and I could not think of a better experience for me to have these past 2 years, building me into the person I am today. And I thank you all for the opportunities you've given me and all your words of encouragement and just making me feel included and making me feel like I was important to all of your decisions. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. Your words are wiser than your age. So thank you. Next up is our Advisory Council of Education, our ACE Committee's annual report. And we would like to welcome our superintendent and director and Britt Kleinman, our sorry, words hard, long day. Britt Kleinman, our chair of the ACE Committee. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. Thanks for letting me talk again. This is one of my favorite meetings of the year. I just love getting to tell you guys what we've done this year, but honoring our seniors is such a big deal. This one's a little extra emotional for me because I've known Mariska since she was tiny and just love that girl so much. So congratulations.
Thank you.
We do have a few other members that are here tonight. Cheryl and Hillary and Anne. I think that's it for who's actually in attendance tonight, but I just wanted to point out we have a few others that came tonight. So I think the next slide for me. So just to review, the charter and purpose of our committee is that we work as a committee commissioned by the school board. We're here to advise you guys on certain topics, research topics for you, as well as we get a wide variety of different presentations every year that so we kind of can stay in the loop and help make decisions with you guys. So that includes things with food service, budget, facilities. We get attendance and discipline updates, special education, categorical programs. So a lot of the same presentations that you guys hear, we get to hear as well, kind of in a different, in like a workshop setting. So we meet monthly, September through June. And then our committee is put together, you'll see here in a moment, people from kind of all different corners of the district. So community members, parents, representatives for each of you, representatives for each building in our district as well, and then our community members. Slide, please. So scope of our work is we will participate in district strategic planning and also provide recommendations. So our current strategic plan was the ACE committee was heavily involved in helping to create that. We also will do research topics for you guys or ones that we identify as things that we would like to research. An example would be our early release Fridays and looking at alternate ways for staff professional development. Timing is something that we've helped with over the years. Many of us were part of the reopening schools committee when we were working through COVID and what that was going to look like. And then we serve as a key communicator to members in the district, other community members and such. Many of us populate other subcommittees as well. So equity committee, budget, IMPC, our instructional materials. So several of us represent other areas as well. And then we'll do presentations and research, present our research topics as well as identified. Next slide. Right, here's just a quick snapshot of some of us at one meeting. Life is busy. It's hard to get everyone there at once. There's a little snapshot. Next slide, please. So each director can have a representative. This is what our current reps look like. We will be needing to find a new director representative once director 3 is selected. And then we do have an opening for director 4 at this time. So if anybody lives in Mary's director area, we'll be needing. Next one, please. And then we also have family members. This can be parents, guardians, etc. So this shows kind of a breakdown of who represents different areas. Our goal is to have a minimum of 1 for every building in the district. Ideally, we would like to have 2. So again, this could be, usually it's parents or guardians, sometimes it's staff members representing and being a voice for that particular building. Next slide. And then staff members also serve as well. So usually we have a few classified and certificated. So we have representation from school nurse, para, transportation. We don't currently have a certificated AEA rep. We usually have a building principal and then district office as well. So Gary Sable serves as the secretary of our committee. Next slide, please. And then we have student representatives as well. So as you met tonight, some of our new ones, we do have 4 seniors that are graduating off our committee, but we are adding on, was it 7, I think, 7 new students. So it's fun. We always kind of have a rolling group. The student reps are my favorite part because I love to hear their perspective, and then we try to give them a chance at the end of every meeting to share a little bit about what's going on in their building and what they're experiencing. So it gives us a different perspective, which I think is really important. Next slide, please. One highlight this year is as the district was navigating what was next with our budgeting, as well as some of our buildings, looking at, capital and facility levies, as well as, the bonds that had been on for post. We did a joint meeting with the Budget Advisory Task Force and held it, at Post Middle School. So it was a great opportunity. It was open to the community as well, and we were able to have tours of the building, and really discuss, where our, our budget shortfalls are, and then where we are with what our needs, with the items that were on the February, ballot. So, be looking out, we'll probably be doing a few more things at Post, I would think. Next slide, please. Right, so something we did this year is, each one of us were able to pick which area of these 3 topics that we were most interested in. And we regularly at our meetings broke off into smaller groups to tackle, some real more focused work. So, family and community involvement, and how to increase that, how to partner better with parents, PTA members, community members. Identifying legislative issues that are impacting schools and finding ways that we can get more involved with those. And then developing a frequently asked questions page for our website, and like what things would be the most needed and the information that we should have on there for any parent or community member that was looking for that. Next slide, please. And so this kind of touches just a little bit on some of the goals that were made, and we needed to make like, what did we want to learn? What are our goals? And then what are the action items that we plan to take either this school year or next? So family and community involvement, there was discussion about doing a survey amongst parents and community members to see where are they involved and where would they like to get more involved. Pulling data from our safe visitor logs and our event and facility usage. So who's coming into our buildings during the school day and what kind of volunteer work are they potentially doing? And then who's using our facilities in other times that maybe those are committees or groups that we could partner with. And then we discussed that honoring our volunteers, whether it be an annual board resolution or something to thank those volunteers for the time, because I think a lot of us know that those volunteers really are help make our schools run smoothly, and our staff rely on a lot of the volunteers. Next slide. For legislative issues, that group worked on understanding the current legislative priorities that were going on and what was in session this year, and then what are the concerns of the school district and how do those correlate? How can we advocate better for Arlington Public Schools and public schools in Washington? And then identify key legislation that is or will impact our schools. So what was going on that, the last session that we had, and how is that going to impact our staff and our teachers and our students? Next. For our frequently asked questions and developing that, we worked on identifying key categories for that, knowing that one FAQ is not going to be enough. We're probably going to have to break it up into a couple of topics. Identify questions specific to those categories, create a document for review with the group, and add important phone numbers to our quick links where needed. So when people want to reach transportation really quick, they click a button. Somebody needs to reach the superintendent's office, there's the button they could click and make it a little faster and be more user friendly. Next slide, please. So this was a big one that we actually just discussed last week in a little more depth. What do we want to talk about next? Like, what are those things that as a group that we really feel passionate about? And a big thing was school cell phone, our practices, our policies, and our impacts. We know this is something that is big in the media. Teachers and our building admin are talking about cell phones are a problem, right? So what does that look like as a district? What does the data out there say? And then what impacts does that have on our kids? And what could we do as a school district to kind of help curb some of those issues that we're having? The other thing was our safety in schools, talking about what kind of data are we getting from our tip line? What are the 911 calls looking like? Do our students feel safe? And if not, why? What changes can we, make to that? And then the next thing is the capital levy information for our next campaign, and working with Strategies 360 as we head into the November election for our capital levy for Post Middle School. We wanted to take a moment. I don't think any of them are here this evening, but we have some seniors that are graduating and leaving us after being with us for a couple of years. So we just wanted to take a moment and celebrate and congratulate Alyssa Costa, Rosa Barkley, Grant Kramer, and Ava Wolf, who have been on our committee for the last 2 years. helping give some student perspective and sharing a little bit. So we're very sad to see them graduate and go, but you met tonight. We have some awesome new kiddos coming on to join us, and we're very excited. Cool. If anybody has any questions or anything, and our committees are itching for topics that you guys want our help with. So if there's anything that we can research for you that you would like us to discuss or put on our docket for next year, please reach out to Dr. Sweeting, Gary, or myself. We would love to help you guys and be your advisory committee.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for us. Thank you for all the committee representatives and the new people and our graduating seniors. I think they're at a parade. So thank you. And thank you, Hillary and Cheryl, for coming and representing, and Anne in the back. Thank you for being here. I've also been on that committee, and it's a lot of fun. We get to dive deep into a lot of good stuff across the district. So lovely. Thank you for being here tonight. Next up is our annual McKinney-Vento report, and we would like to welcome Brian Long, our Director of College and Career Readiness. Good evening.
Good evening. Everything's been so positive and now it's going to be. So McKinney-Vento is how we serve our students experiencing homelessness, whether that be traditional, what we think of as homelessness, not having an actual home, living in cars, but more frequently it's living with another person. The vast majority of all of our students who meet this criteria are living with another family, almost always because of economic reasons. And you can all guess what is happening. So let's look at some very, very increasing numbers in almost every case. So it's not fun, but it is a reality and we do our best. So I would have given you new numbers. These are last year's, but the, what's it called?
Healthy survey?
No, this one's from Tableau off of OSPI. It's broken. So these are last year's numbers, but you can see about 3.2% of our students are experiencing homelessness in the state of Washington. And we're really close to that number. We're a little bit below, so that's good.
As a district.
As a district, yeah. So the McKinney-Vento, so that's what I'll cover, just the McKinney-Vento Act itself has been around since like 1976. So longer than I've been around, so it's pretty well established at this point. Qualification of the process, how we qualify a kid, the resources and how we do outreach to make sure we're identifying as many kids as possible. We know we are not succeeding in getting every single kid. There's a lot of stigma associated with homelessness and experiencing any sort of financial struggle. So we really struggle with that. And then our data, I have lots and lots and lots of pretty graphs. So our actual definition that we use for throughout the nation is children who lack fixed, regular, adequate nighttime residency. Fixed, adequate, regular. That's really what we're looking for. And those are pretty well defined. They are not made up. They're not just random numbers. Do they have a legal right to be there? That is what fixed means. If they do not have a legal right to be there, it qualifies, just like that. One thing, only has to be one, doesn't have to be all of them. Regular. Are they staying in a place that we define as a regular place in which humans sleep? A campground is not. A camper is not. So not regular. Any of those met, you become McKinney-Vento. And adequate. Does it have heat? Does it have running water? And is it an actual shelter that is an appropriate place for humans to live? Doesn't mean you have to have internet. Doesn't mean you have to have the greatest things in the world. It just has to be adequate. You meet any of those criteria at any point, you are qualified as McKinney-Vento for the rest of the year, period. There is no undoing McKinney-Vento. Also, parents and kids don't have a choice. Once you meet any of those criteria and we know about it, we qualify you whether you want it or not. You don't have to take any of our sources. You don't have to do anything, but you are qualified, which means you automatically get free and reduced lunch. Good question.
Yes, is a student who's in foster care,
No.
that's a separate
Yep,
thing.
totally. That's also my job. So the liaison for foster care. So foster care is not considered McKinney-Vento necessarily. We do have one or two a year foster care families who have children who are not in fixed, adequate, regular nighttime housing and therefore can qualify as McKinney-Vento. But technically, no, because they are assigned to an adult who should have fixed adequate regular nighttime housing. In theory, not necessarily. Every single McKinney-Vento situation is utterly unique. And we take them one at a time, no exception. So, any of these qualify as McKinney-Vento shared housing is our number one. Living in an emergency or transition home, we don't have any of that here in Arlington. We're always talking about Everett. Living in a motel or hotel, trailer parks, campgrounds, all those. We have quite a handful living in cars. We have, to the best of our knowledge, no one that lives in a park or an abandoned building, or any housing that we would consider substandard. We don't, that we know of. We may be wrong, but we don't care, what country you're from. If you are here, we educate you and we will take care of you as McKinney-Vento. Okay, so first thing almost always is a staff member finds out the situation through conversation. It's really, really easy with the little kids. They'll just tell you anything. The bigger they get, the less they talk. And so we have to kind of get it through context clues. My number one reporters, unquestioningly, are the lunch ladies. They're the ones that tell us most often because they're the ones that most are aware of whether kids are eating or not. And they know full well, all they got to do is tell Shannon Sanchez, my assistant, or myself, and we look it up, and then we just get back to them and say, we have taken care of that situation. They don't get to know any more. We don't tell them whether they're qualified or not, but it's been addressed, so they at least get some feedback. Counselors and administrators identify quite a few. Most of the counselors really are doing is identifying kids that they know are already on their radar, and they're just making sure that everything's in place and they're good to go because they know their kids, they know them really well, and they just want to make sure those services are still happening. Administrators, if it makes it to an administrative level, a lot of people have missed, and we almost never have that happen. In fact, I don't think it's ever had an administrator actually tell them. So it's always lunch ladies, teachers, counselors. And then once it gets to me or my assistant, if it's an obvious meets that criteria, Shannon qualifies them, and then I just confirm all of them. And Shannon knows exactly what she's doing. And then there's really, really complicated ones where we have to open conversations with other schools and figuring out who is their neighborhood school, which is the most complicated thing in the world. Seems like it'd be easy. It's not. So we have lots of forms, lots and lots of forms. We send home our housing form. Every single kid gets this, and hopefully their parents look at it. And anytime anyone marks anything other than they're fine, we investigate. We start with the ones we know are already, we already have them identified, and then we just start going down every single one of them. Yep.
Housing Hope, is that considered McKinney-Vento? It's
Housing Hope is always McKinney.
okay, just checking.
Yep, and that's one of our resources. There are many, many resources. Okay. And then once they qualify as McKinney-Vento, once we know, they do not have to fill out any of this paperwork. If a kid just walks up and says, we woke up in the car this morning. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. And then we get told and they're McKinney-Vento. Done deal. No one does any paperwork except us. We do lots of paperwork. So then once they get qualified as McKinney-Vento, we fill out this paperwork for them, or the counselor fills it out, which qualifies them. And on the bottom, there's a whole big giant list of resources that we try to, depending on the kid's age, we either talk to the kid or we talk to the parent. The student, pretty much middle school and up is usually who we talk to. And it depends on who we're talking to, and you can kind of get it, we just have to make a call with the kiddo. But with little guys, we always talk to the parents. So, and we figure out exactly what they need, and they almost always just need two things: transportation and housing. And we can't really help with housing. Here's a whole bunch of resources that we can connect you with, but we can get them to school. And then that's where transportation and Brian, Lewis, and Cheryl now make. I can't even begin to explain how complicated what they do. Every McKinney-Vento kid has a right to come to school. Wherever they are located, once they are ours, they go and get them, and or a school bus from their sending district goes and gets them and brings them to school and takes them home every single day at hundreds of thousands of dollars of a cost. Yeah.
Money, is it coming from the state, the federal, or both?
Whole whopping $59,000 is allocated for Title I, Part A.
One student?
Oh, no, the whole district.
No. The
Super
district,
cool. The whole district.
59 grand.
And then Brian Lewis back there pays for a whole lot of buses to go all kinds of places.
And that's on the federal level.
Yep, so it's a unfunded mandate from the federal level that the state then. makes
So we have
sure
to make it happen, but
Yep.
we're not given the funding to make it.
You got it, but we make it happen, and we make it happen every single year at lots and lots of work on especially transportation's part.
Mhm.
Because students who are experiencing homelessness and families, they are less than stable. That's why they're in this hole, and so they change locations constantly.
Yeah.
And so Charity is constantly being updated on where to send buses and where to send vehicles. And how she does that, I literally have no idea. I'm just glad she does it. So. Okay, so once that request for transportation comes in, it's articulated very clearly where we're picking up, when, where, how, who, everything. So it's all documented. And we just go ahead and look at all the other kids attached and make sure that everyone that's within that same family is also qualified if it makes sense. You don't necessarily live together as siblings, so Shannon does a lot of calling to figure out exactly what's happening. Okay, so school transportation is a number one. We do food. The biggest thing we do is through Arlington Community Food Bank with our weekend meals. So we provide anyone at all in the entire school district, and quite frankly, the community can sign up for it. And we put 3 pounds of food in kids' backpacks. And we do that with about 260 kids every single Thursday. So it's pretty awesome. The food bank delivers a whole bunch of food here at all the different buildings, and then it gets put into backpacks as secretly as possible. And it's really good. So clothing, we get lots of, especially around Christmas, we get lots of different programs that come in, and we make sure to engage our families with that as much as possible. We actually send them a certified letter that says, you now have right to certain free resources because people want to make sure that you're taken care of during Christmas. And then counseling, medical, dental, and vision. And the biggest help with those ones are our student support advocates, Travis and Rachel. Those two are worth their weight in gold in terms of helping our students, because there's a certain just boundary where we have to stop, and they're great at picking up. That's literally what they do. They're social workers, and they are particularly adept at doing it. Travis at the high school, getting kids to do things they normally wouldn't in terms of going and getting their driver's license, going to medical appointments, making sure they're there. It's pretty awesome. And then extracurricular activities, we just make sure that any of the fees to participate, anything that can be considered a barrier, we try to get that out of the way as best as possible. Because they have the right to, all the same. And then these are all our letters that over the year we send every single year to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. We also send these as emails, and we call the ones we know don't receive any of this for whatever reason. So let's look at some data. So Arlington High School is obviously going to have the highest numbers just because they have the biggest building. But you can see everything is in year blue being the oldest data, green being the newest data, and there's just right on up. Not so awesome.
Post is almost double Howard.
Yep.
So I have a question about this.
Yeah.
It was 21-22 the year that we had the child tax credit
I don't know.
from, so I was trying to remember, because that's a pretty big.
Cause like the year before was COVID. So that was a very low reporting year.
Right.
So we were getting back up because
Yeah.
if I show all my data, it's just this perfect little smiley face.
Mm-hmm.
So this is still the highest numbers by far. So. And I'm just gonna slice all this information in different ways. So by building over time, and you can see. Those are the grade schools, and then. Might not put the high school. Oh, no, I did it. So then this is by grade level. So I can say with reasonable confidence, especially because we just sorted them all out, 27 seniors are graduating without barriers because of McKinney-Vento. So that's a good thing to say. So convincing them to bring things in as opposed to us having to make those fees go away is quite difficult. So we get them to bring in most of it.
When you say bring in, what are we bringing? They're bringing.
Everything, books, computers.
Charging cords.
So you're saying that, you're saying the,
Because we can't keep them from graduating because of a fee.
right,
We really shouldn't be waiving fees. Watch Gina freak out back there.
Okay, so fee waiving.
So
is
I'm
not-
really trying to convince them to bring them, to find them in their rooms and bring them in. Before we keep them, like we even cause too much stress in terms of not being able to graduate. And that cutoff date was yesterday in Arlington.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty stressful and intense day. Like, hey, sure it's not in your pickup? I found $500 worth of uniforms in pickups yesterday. As opposed to just, oh, it's fine. So go look in your pickup before you do this. Go actually try before you do this. So. But we got them all across. That's the key. So, looking at our building levels, high versus middle versus elementary. It's pretty evenly distributed. I would say the middle school is lower just because there's just a fewer number of kids at that level. And so then living situation, as I said, the vast majority are living with family or friends, or living with someone else. A handful are living in motel, hotel. I always wonder how they can even sustain that for any length of time. There is certain grants and funds that can make that more possible. There's always a handful that live in shelters, and those are almost always our older kids. And then unsheltered, basically, this is what we select when we don't really know what's going on.
Mhm.
So. And then males and females. It's usually far higher for females for whatever reason.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's, because one of the frustrations with McKinney-Vento is the reason a kid leaves home is irrelevant to us. So they can leave for good reasons, and they can leave for not so good reasons, but I can't not follow the law. They're not at home, not supervised by their parent, they're McKinney-Vento. So we have this weird dichotomy with parents, and it causes a lot of frustration, and I just get to talk on the phone a lot, which is fine. But typically, we've got more independent family members that are just, nope, I don't want to be here anymore. So. Rough. Total MKD for, you can see the smiley face I was talking about, if we look at all the data. So 106 was just after COVID. And 100%, that is underreporting.
That's a big jump from.
Yeah. Underreporting.
The other thing too is the moratorium on evictions ended.
Yep.
in that 21, 22 years.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can see that orange.
Makes sense, yeah.
Questions? Any more questions?
Grants.
We have lots of grants, and we've done multiple kind of surveys as to what parents and students need. And there isn't much more that we can provide them, because the vast majority of them just need houses. They need rent, they need security deposits, and that is way beyond any grant. All the grants talk about is how do we make it easier for them to get jobs? But we're not social workers. That's the hard part. That's where Travis and Rachel really make things so much better, because they are social workers. So, yeah.
I was curious about all the different transportation arrangements. We have 202, is that 202 separate bus?
No, so most of our kids are just within our boundary. There's only about 36 to 40, depends on the week.
Mhm.
And how many kids that we have coming from like Everett or coming from Mukilteo. So they were qualified as McKinney-Vento while living here, and then they had to move for hardship reasons. They have the right to continue to attend their neighborhood school where they were qualified. And we have to provide that transportation.
So there's 36 separate little cars, vehicles,
No.
routes, or?
So what Charity does, it's brilliant, is they have kids that come to our school too. They go both directions. So typically, our kids that are in other schools get driven here by their neighborhood school in the morning, and then we take them home.
Mhm.
So it's a massive, complicated inter-district, school communication that they're all set up to make happen. I don't know how she does it. I'm not kidding when I say that. It is impressive.
$59,000, where does that fall short?
The biggest thing is we have to pay for those individual cars. When we get those individual cars, that's when things get real expensive. It's called Hop, Skip, Go.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, Hop, Skip, Go. When we pay for them, they're $35 an hour, period. So, and that's from the moment the driver gets in the car. So it's 7:01.
My question was, I attended event a couple weeks ago over in Walla Walla. And what we were being educated on was foster care. And what was surprising me was how many kids, this one student, I think over 12 months, I mean, maybe it was 2 years,
Oh,
we've been to 12 different schools. And I know even my experience at Lakewood School District, it's amazing how the students are, there's that shuffle and there's that unsettledness of being in this district. And then they get another foster situation, so they move to the next district. And I just think that's gotta be the
We
loss of
usually
learning.
have 1 or 2 foster kids
Okay,
that will bounce. We have about 20 in the whole district,
okay,
but we'll have foster kids that bounce in and out of our district 4 or 5 times in 1 year. They are not ours, and then they're someone else's, and then they're ours again, and they're someone else's. It's for our more difficult foster kids. They're being, basically, the foster parent is being given relief,
Mm,
is what it is. Having both of my siblings have been foster parents,
mhm,
it can be pretty taxing.
Yeah.
So it's really a massive detriment to the kid, but it's either that or they're just
mm.
in a really bad way.
Yeah, it hadn't really dawned on me, but that was, I think it's something to be mindful of. Certainly, I don't know what the legislature can do on that level, but I just feel for those kids they're usually the ones that go to resource, maybe have an IEP. It's like,
Yep.
what is the trail that follows those students? And-
Well, one thing that's really good is they do have 1 social worker.
Okay,
If that social worker stays,
okay.
that's really hard. Most social workers last about 2, 3 years.
Mm, okay,
So if that social worker stays, that kid does have that one human.
continuity, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we see the most continuity and the best services provided. That person has a tendency to switch out pretty
So that
quickly.
can,
So then it just causes pure chaos.
okay,
And I probably do best interest determination meetings 3, 4 a month. And that's almost always for foster.
Mm.
They want to be replaced or they're going to a different school and we're supposed to do it. Thankfully, Zoom exists, or that's all I'd be doing.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. I'm very
Well-
Great question. Nathan,
Yeah.
have
Yeah, really quickly, a student who's currently living in the car, what category would that fall under, like shelter?
that's unsheltered, unsheltered, because they're not living in a car. So, yeah. And we don't have any, like, it's mostly parents living in a car with kids. We don't have any like straight up high school kids that we know of living in cars. They usually couch surf with friends,
Mhm.
so,
any other questions for anybody else?
cool.
Thank
Brian.
you. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Next up is our draft 2024 capital facility plan update. We'd like to welcome Brian Lewis, our Executive Director of Operations.
Good evening. Congratulations. Tonight, I'm speaking with you about the district's capital facilities plan. The last time I spoke with you about this was in 2022.
Sorry, Brian.
Okay.
We're just, yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
When we updated the plan, tonight I'm presenting to you a draft update of the plan for 2024. So some background about the capital facilities plan. It's not the master facilities plan that I presented to you last July. The capital facilities plan is a process mandated by or defined by the Growth Management Act. And it's completely distinct from our facilities plan. The purpose of the capital facilities plan under the Growth Management Act is to assess our readiness to house students in the future. And if we're not ready, according to the methodology provided by the plan, then we're granted the ability to ask the county, Snohomish County and the city of Arlington, the municipalities that we deal with to impose a growth impact fee on building permits that are issued for residential construction. So that's what we're talking about tonight. As I said before, the last time we updated the plan was in August of 2022. It's time for us to update this plan as a biannual update. This slide shows the contents, the table of contents for the plan. And basically, it's the components that go into what defines our eligibility and what for collecting impact fees and what those impact fees would look like. You can see the different components of it. Educational program standards, that's how many kids would we have in a classroom? And I need to qualify this in that this plan, when we talk about student enrollment, we're talking about head count, not full-time enrollment, because head count is the maximum number of students that can be served inside of a school building. And full-time enrollment is a different measure that really is what drives our state apportionment revenues more so than our maximum capacity, calculating the maximum capacity. So we start off with how many students would we put in a normal classroom, a maximum number of students. There is a lower boundary expressed as well. The inventory of our facilities, both permanent and temporary, what is considered temporary facilities are portable classroom buildings or modular classroom buildings. The next component is student enrollment projections. There are several methodologies that the plan considers, including the OSPI cohort survival methodology, but even though that is discussed in the plan, it's not the enrollment projection that we use. It's what we use is the enrollment projection that was provided to us during our demographic study from Flow Analytics. Capital facilities needs is a comparison of inventory versus how many students that we think or that we have right now, what we think we're going to have in the future. This plan looks out to 2029, even though it's going to be updated again in a 2-year period. We're constantly rolling forward 2 years. So at some point, we're going to need to go back and re-engage with Flow Analytics to come up with a new demographic study for us, or we're going to have to use our best educated guess to estimate what the enrollment's going to be in the future. Once we determine those needs, then we can look at a capital financing plan. This is where we talk about our plans to either request a bond or a capital levy to finance facilities or sell real property to finance facilities, or whatever methodology is available for us to come up with the financing for the building itself. And that the gap that exists is filled by our eligibility to collect school impact fees. So that's the contents of the plan. We've had capital facilities plans in place since 2019, and since that time, we've collected over $1.4 million in impact fees. We went through a pretty impressive period of growth here. There's primarily multifamily. There was some single family home construction, but those were more along the lines of a lot that could hold 3 homes within the city boundaries being either an existing home was torn down and 3 homes were built on it, or 2 smaller homes were built. That's an example. We saw this happen, across from the library. That there was a period of construction over there where lots of homes were built on sites that would be considered small parcels outside of the city of Arlington, but the city is interested in providing as much housing as possible. So what can we do with that money? We can use it to build new buildings, either on site, or we can use it to bring in a modular facility or portable facility and place that at our school buildings in any kind of infrastructure that we can provide as well, including water, sewer, electricity. This is an example of what we've used impact fees for. This is the portable classrooms at Eagle Creek Elementary. This was a more expensive project than other portables that we've placed in the past because 2 reasons. One, we placed them on the ground. There is a foundation under there. You can't see it, but it was excavated and a foundation built. And this building also has sanitary sewer, water, and electricity underground as well. So it's really a seamless look in comparison to the rest of the site. So getting into some of the details of the plan's contents, I'm showing you a comparison here, what's called the student generation factor between 2022 and 2024. And the student generation factor is an expression, a mathematical expression of how many students should we expect from each type of dwelling in the district. Single family homes, multifamily homes. In 2022, the plan considered multifamily for 1 bedroom, so it'd be a 1 bedroom or a studio apartment within a multifamily complex, or 2+ bedrooms in a multifamily complex. And in this situation in 2022, townhomes and duplexes were considered as multifamily within those boundaries of multifamily. Yes.
So the fractions, are we looking at like the actual value over the expected value? Or how do we get?
Or how many?
These
how many
these
kids
were
live there?
actuals.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we have a demographic company, Flow Analytics, or we had a more local provider up until 2022. 2022 was the last time this person did workforce. And what we would provide them is a list of all the addresses that students reside at within the district and how many students reside at that address and at what grade level. And then they would calculate that student generation rate for us. And that's the same process that we used in 2024. Luckily we had, Flow Analytics with us, and they've done our demographic reports, so they were familiar with us. And they were able to get the work done. Yes.
So the numbers that show total, is that the total number of students that generated?
Yeah, so, and I'm gonna switch over to 2024 here and talk about a difference in the legislative formula change, so that rather than considering multifamily or townhomes and duplexes within the multifamily category, they were separated out. And that left the consideration of multifamily apartments alone, without mixing in townhomes and duplexes. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it may have something to do with the prevalence of townhomes and duplexes being constructed in urban growth areas. And that's on the increase. And we can see it happening here in Arlington as well. If you look at the pending multifamily permits that have been applied for, there are many, many townhomes planned, over 450 planned. So it's a lot of townhomes. So as an example, the student generation rate for the single family or at the elementary level, each single family home generates 0.265 of a student. Now we know there's not 0.265 of a student in there, but there's 4 homes, and within that 4-home block, there's 1 elementary student that lives in that 4-home block. And the same math applies for all grade levels, middle and senior, and for all types of dwellings, townhomes, duplexes, or multifamily, 2-bedroom plus. So this study that, where we provide our own data and show how many students are living at what address and at what grade level is used as part of the factor that determines our eligibility for state match, or impact fees. Here's another component of it, and that's our facilities inventory. How many square feet of classroom space do we have? And I want to point out the differences between 2022 and 2024 when we added Arlington High School addition. That added a little under 20,000 square feet of space at that school, instructional space. And same with the classroom, the portable classrooms that we installed at Eagle Creek Elementary increased our elementary temporary facility square footage. So our square footage has increased from 664,000 to 685,000 square feet of facility available to provide instruction for students. So that's a good thing. We're accommodating our needs. We're using impact fees to do that. But this is a balancing act as well. So every time, all other things remain equal, when we add facility, we reduce our eligibility to fund new school facilities through this particular device. And that's expressed here. This is the impact fees from 2022 and 2024. You can see in 2022, we were eligible for $4,002 for every single family home constructed within Snohomish County. Our boundaries, the district boundaries within Snohomish County or within the city of Arlington. Multifamily one bedroom, there was no fee. We were not eligible for any fees for that type of dwelling. And it's because we didn't have enough students coming from one bedroom apartments. And for multifamily two bedroom, we were eligible for $2,328. I want to point out the note that's at the bottom of both of these tables is that the number that's shown there is only 50% of what we're eligible to collect. Snohomish County limits the amount of impact fees that we can ask for. By reducing, we can calculate the full amount, then we have to reduce that by 50%. That's cannot capture any more than that. That continues into 2024 as well. The table is different because of the different types of dwellings that are considered. We are not going to ask for multifamily two bedroom fees because it's equal to the processing fee that we would have to pay the county to actually transmit the funds they collect to us. And multifamily, again, we're not going to ask for that because it's not, it would cost us to actually impose the fee. But you can see there's significant differences between single family and the townhomes duplex, which we've been in multifamily 2+ in the past. We're going down from $4,000 to $500. So we do what we need to do to provide space for students, and our eligibility to collect impact fees goes down. But just want to make sure that you're all aware of that. Yes, ma'am.
What is the advantage of having limited us to 50% of what we can collect?
You would have to talk to Snohomish County.
I just can't, I feel like, do you feel like it's just, I mean, does it make sense to you, or do you think that we're entitled to a full?
We're entitled by state law, but the state law also allows local jurisdictions to override that.
So it's on the Snohomish County level.
Yes. I cannot explain that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this presentation to you today is the first step. I will bring back a completed draft for your consideration in August. We have already submitted a draft to the county. The county has replied with technical notes, they call it. We have responded to those technical notes and resubmitted the draft. They don't have any further questions. So what you see attached to the board package should be very similar to what you see again in August. Other activities that are associated with this is a State Environmental Protection Act or Policy Act review, where we notify jurisdictions within our boundaries like the Stillaguamish Tribe, City of Arlington, Snohomish County Planning and Development Services, that we're embarking on this task and what we expect the impact to be on the environment by doing this. There is no impact because we're just doing a study. We're not actually building anything, not asking people to build anything. So that's the conclusion of the secret process. We provide them notification. We also provide State Department of Natural Resources notification as well. So once the board adopts the plan or considers the plan for adoption in August, then the other agencies involved, City of Arlington, Snohomish County Planning Commission, Snohomish County Council, all take their role in the process. Once they go through their process, then and if they approve it, then we're eligible to collect updated fees in January 2025. The City of Arlington's process is delayed by 6 months, so they would not adopt the big fee schedule until June or July. That's all I have for you tonight.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Wu? All right, thank you for that update. The next item on our agenda is our adoption of the 2024-25 board meeting schedule.
So we discussed this at a study session, and we contemplated possibly changing the times of our study meetings, but after the discussion, this is bringing back the schedule that we have this year. So study sessions beginning at 5 and ending at 4. I mean at 4, and sorry, and being finished by around 5:30-ish, and then come back and do a regular meeting. The dates are they near, just a new year, they kind of rolled up. So this is what that reflects. And the rest of the document besides those dates have the WASDA onboarding trainings. There's different onboard training. It also has the equity training that's required for the board and myself. And then the WASDA annual conference, which this year is in Spokane. It alternates between Spokane and W. And networking opportunities and so forth. So that's on the document.
There any questions or anything? Do we have a motion to approve the 2024-2025 board meeting schedule as proposed?
Make a motion, we approve the 2024-2025 board meeting schedule.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Knapp and seconded by Director Kelly to approve the 24-25 board meeting schedule. Director Diamond,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Yes.
Director Knapp.
Yes.
Board meeting schedule is adopted. Thank you. Next up is our middle school PE credit revision update, and we would like to welcome Carrie Henderson Burke, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, and Kyle Axelson, Principal at the Chamber.
All right, so we are, here we've had 2 study sessions where we've discussed this idea that it might be time to retire. The opportunity for middle school students to earn high school credit for 8th grade recreational PE. And so I just want to conduct a very quick review of the key points of what we've talked about before. Remember, 24 credits is a comparatively new reality for our high school students. And in preparation for this, there was a great deal of concern that students didn't have any room to fail. So as a result of that concern, we were given some boundary to add credit to a few middle school courses, one of which was recreational PE in 8th grade. So we wanted to review this slide because PE fits under this column, health and fitness. Kids need 2 credits, 1.5 of which is PE in order to graduate, but it is a foundational credit. It is a core subject matter for kids. And so it's listed as important as for graduating well-rounded people. So just wanted to remind you of that, and that we are asking that we remove this for a myriad of reasons. Because whatever's coming up next on the slide, because PE is a core subject, it is very central. Randy, you could just go ahead and click through these really quickly. Our kids don't graduate because they're missing PE credits. It's not a factor in graduating on time. Really, the biggest concern from the PE department is that kids are moving less and less. And there's some research to talk about the importance of regular, structured, focused exercise on our next slide. That depression, it helps mitigate depression, anxiety, and stress. And we know kids experience depression and anxiety and stress at a level that we've never seen before. So anything in our arsenal to combat that is really an important thing.
So my question, I'm just understanding, so you're removing this as a potential way for students to earn credit earlier on because the impetus is to create, like, we want you to continue this.
Yes.
So we're not gonna kind of give you an easy path.
Yes.
Thank you. I just narrowed that down. Thank you.
I'm just, what Sherry said. Any
I just wanted to
questions?
articulate that. Want to understand, cut to the chase.
We also know that movement helps learning. It's just the truth, and we definitely want kids learning all the way through. This move would not affect the middle school PE program at all. It would just encourage get kids moving 90 more days in their high school careers. So we did take some steps before we considered coming to you with this, but there's PE waivers are available. They got a little bit out of control. We tightened our adherence to the purpose and intent of the PE waivers. I'm sorry, I was looking at the flowers and not your
Okay,
hand.
I know they're kind of high to me. So the PE class will still be an option in the middle school, they just won't receive the.
They wouldn't get high school credit for it. Exactly. So, yes, go ahead.
Do we see like a prediction of more students not taking PE then if they don't get the benefit of doing the high school credit?
They'll take another semester of PE in high school to fulfill their graduation requirements.
I
So
mean,
see
in
what
the
kids.
in the middle school, will they not want to do it anymore
Great
because
question.
they
It's
won't
a-
have the benefit? Sorry.
That's a great question. It's a requirement in middle school as well.
Oh,
So it will affect.
Many did not know they were taking a check.
I didn't. I did leadership my year, so I didn't even get the additional PE credit. So that's why I'm curious.
A vast majority of kids do leave middle school with a half a PE credit or half an elective credit. So, yes.
So for the students who are doing online learning, like through SBLC, where they're fulfilling the credit in other ways in high school.
Yes.
Like, how will that, I guess I'm wondering how that will affect, like, if they, I know we're gonna like slowly roll this up, right, but like, could they still have that option at the 8th grade since it won't super change their PE outlook?
They can still take
yeah.
PE on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So if you're.
We have.
But it would
students
be
that do
high
that.
school instead of like okay,
We have students that. do
yeah, I guess I'm just
online
wondering the
PE.
impact of the online,
Yeah.
but
And
maybe
I-
not at all.
And I think the online it's slated as a high school
Yeah.
course.
Okay.
Whereas in what's been happening at the middle schools, it's been a middle school PE course,
Right.
not designed for.
Right,
as a high
okay, that
school.
makes sense. Okay, yeah, sorry, I just.
No, it's good. No apology needed. Okay, thank you, Brenda. There are options. Kids still have options for gaining PE credit other than traditional coursework. And that is, you can have competency-based credit. You can show your learning in PE in alternate ways. And on the next slide, it also talks about there are still also ways to waive PE participation in varsity or club sports. If there's a medical need, of course, we are not going to argue with that. And the principal does have some discretion if there's an understanding of some extenuating circumstances. The principal does have some discretion in that. So removing this opportunity doesn't mean that it's a black and white 100%. We will take 1.5 credits of PE in high school. And last but not least, we did survey a dozen districts around us and found out that none of them are doing this.
I like that.
This is not a step in our unending efforts to be popular, but it was an important piece of information to recognize that other districts had either did not select it to start with or have.
I will allow it. Mary
Okay.
Anderson.
Sorry, I'm just curious why Arlington originally started that option, just seeing that all the other districts have.
Yeah, it went back to that very first slide that covered the 24 required credits so it really was, anxiety, I'm using the word anxiety, that's not the word from the State Board of Education, but worry that that if kids failed one high school course, they'd be off track to graduate. Not so kind of, letting that, some protection. for that.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Took a little gentle allowance.
That's
there.
good.
It's a good question. Is there any more slides?
Just the question slide.
Well, perfect. Do we have any questions? Do our high school student advisors have any questions about high school credits? Credit retrieval.
Yes, no question, but comment. It's funny the timing. I was looking through my grades, and I realized, my accumulative GPA was kind of like, oh, what was that? Sure enough, I looked at my 8th grade gym PE class, and it was a B-. So I'm glad it's happening now, so that students, they can focus a little bit. Like, hey, it's part of your future education.
Well, and when this was first allowed, families and kids could opt in to receiving the credit, and then as we moved through, you had to opt out, so there was a policy shift in the middle of that as well, so because that would be the number one reason why kids would have transcribed it in one of the higher grade.
Yeah. Hey, Carrie, I noticed in the board plate, there was the kind of the timeline of when we're phasing in and phasing out. Can you summarize that about what year? Will? Yep.
Thank you for asking that question. So the goal would be to roll this up. So this year's 6th and 7th graders, next year 7th and 8th graders would still have access to this because they entered our middle school. Maybe with this understanding, we're gonna err on the side of caution and not play the old bait and switch with the kids that are already in the system that exists. But next year's 6th graders would be the first ones that would be off the table.
Can we make it an opt-in at this point? For the 6th, 7th, 8th, and then roll it. into the-
That would, that's a good question. I had not considered that. I don't know that we can. I would have to look at what went into the policy. That's the switch from the opt-in to
I
opt
think
out.
there's something at the state level. And
So that's
I
the
think
state
that's
mandated it to be opt-in or
they
opt-out.
changed,
Okay.
not as, not.
So it wasn't a fourth, okay.
Right, right. It's outside of ourselves.
And because this is not in any kind of policy, it is not really something we vote on. We're just getting the information from you, correct?
Indeed.
And that,
What do you think? This
This
is
is-
moving forward just on
This
its,
is
oh, okay.
informational, but we really want-
Informational.
and that's what we did. We looked up at the past, how when we moved in this direction, for the 24 credits, it was just an update, a briefing to the board.
Thank you for the briefing.
Thank you so much.
It was so brief.
That's
Yes.
good briefing. We appreciate
Okay.
it.
Everybody here.
All right. Thank you for being here tonight. Next up, lastly, on our new business portion is our first reading of board policy 5005, employment and volunteers, disclosures, certification requirements, assurances, and approval. And policy 5401, our sick leave policy. And we'd like to welcome back Eric Tillman. Thank you for coming. Goodbye, Anderson.
Yes, good evening again. Couple of policies for review today. First one, 5005. Small change in this one, which is right there. There's
I had one question about this.
yes,
Are we still drug testing our bus drivers? Are we still checking that? Is that
yeah, and so
one of
there,
the,
that's excluded from this. So that's the law that references there. There's exclusions in there, and so. Like, we're required to test a driver, let's say if there's a bus accident or something like that, there's an automatic test, so it doesn't limit us on that. Good question.
the law changed, so we're updating our policy?
So that's an add-on, pre-employment drug testing.
Yeah.
The district requires prospective staff members.
Yeah, that law is based around, you can't discriminate against people for cannabis use outside of their work.
Okay,
If you do test them, we don't test employees other than bus drivers really. In certain situations, so
so,
it
and
doesn't, not really gonna impact us very much.
so it's saying that this looks like, is this just at the beginning of employment? It says pre-employment drug testing. Can we test bus drivers as bus drivers anytime?
Yep.
Okay, because of
There's
carrying.
random testing and there's testing after an accident, I believe.
And if you're,
Is there anything, Brian?
Yeah.
yeah,
We're required to test 25% of our bus drivers every year. That if there's an accident, we test.
okay, and then you would test them, and if they test positive, but they haven't had an accident, is that illegal to be using
Right.
cannabis?
There's some specific requirements around bus drivers.
Okay,
Because they're obviously.
it's in your system though, right? For, I don't know, isn't it in your system for
There's
a
some,
while?
there's some rules around that we follow. So
Okay.
That's all pretty clearly stated.
Okay,
And
so we're
we
just,
End up turning that over typically to the state would take over on those situations.
Student advisors, question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It doesn't have anything to do with, like student drug testing in this section, no.
Just employees.
Is there a reason why it's just bus drivers? Are we not allowed to test other staff members?
We don't don't have a reason to test other people necessarily. If it comes up in a, if there's a concern about it, you know, like if it's impairing their work, then potentially we could test, but we don't typically test for pre-employment.
And it's bus drivers because,
Well, this is
driving
specifically on
while-
bus drivers. I'm saying that law right there,
Oh, I see.
some of the
Okay.
exclusions are for things like bus drivers.
Gotcha.
Good questions, good conversation. Any changes to the policy that anyone would like to make? I hear none. Do you want to move on to the next one, 5401?
This is also a small change. Trying to align with the law regarding when we can ask for verification that was for an authorized purpose, and the state of the RCW, they're exceeding 3 days. We had excess of 5 days previously, and so the law allows us after 3 days. Now, some of our collective bargaining agreements may have a different allowance, but this is what the law says, so we can do better than that in our CBAs, but want to have that availability in our policy to after, you know, basically it's 4 days or more
Consecutive.
consecutive.
I think it's exceeding, yeah. Does it say, oh, yeah, are those consecutive days or is it,
That would be consecutive.
okay, that makes sense. Yeah, there's already allotted how many sick days or personal days anyway.
Is that is putting in the word consecutive for clarification?
We could add,
Might be because it's in the crossed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically we would say if an absence exceeds 3 days, we would consider that being consecutive.
So it's
Otherwise-
implied.
Yeah, I think it's implied. We can add it if it would.
Might be. Or just make absence singular for an absence exceeding 3 days.
And that would be like a chunk of time.
Might be an option. If it changes the law though. Is that exactly what it says in the
I
RCW?
think that's right from the law, but I double check that. I can't remember. I think I wrote it right from the law.
I remember a very wise student advisor once counseled us, but we should probably follow the law.
Yeah. Well, if you're a CW, you can't go wrong with yours.
Thought it was
It's
wise.
an easy, yeah,
It's a fallback.
fallback.
Go with the law.
But there-
So we can double check and see if it's right in the law, or we could add, I don't think adding consecutive would change it even if it's not in the law. That would be our practice, so.
Okay.
I'd be fine with that. If that's what you would recommend.
We like following the law. It's kind of our thing.
Okay.
Any other changes to that policy at all?
No.
All right, thank you,
Yeah,
Eric. We
thanks.
appreciate it. Thanks for being here when it's beautiful and sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our first read and then it'll come back to us. in a minute. Okay. Great. The next portion of our meeting is our informational items. We'll start with our superintendent's report. Dr. Sweeting.
So today it was pretty awesome. The high schools, the Weston and Arlington High School did their grad walks. And so they they got on a bus to go to all 4 elementary schools and went to the schools. The idea would go to the one that they attended. If they didn't attend here, they would choose one to go to. And then after the elementary schools, the two buses, they divide up and go to the middle school. So to go to the feeder schools, something like that. So it was pretty, I got over to Howler right when they were coming out of the school to get back on the buses. I saw Mariska there. It was pretty cool. So I'm sure she'll share how that experience was, but it was wonderful. We have graduations this week, Weston tomorrow night, Arlington High School Thursday, 8th grade celebrations. We have post on Tuesday, which will be hard because there's also graduation, but they're having an open house between 4 and 6. Howler is on Friday, between 4 and 6 as well. The last day of this school year is in 1 week from today.
One more week, maybe.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Sweeting. Next up is our legislative update and discussion. Director Kelly.
I'm just pretty quiet on the legislative side of things. I did, like I said, go to Walla Walla a couple weeks ago, which was very insightful. I attended a school that was like, it's an ALE program similar to what we have at Weston. So it's great to contrast or compare really what the amazing things they're doing in that at that part of their district. And then we also got to see what used to be gosh, I think it was an elementary school and it is now reconfigured to like an early learning center. And it's so encompassing. I mean, they have everything under one roof. It's this crazy building. It just works so well. It's got multiple levels and it's a one-stop shop. And so it's just, and they kept reiterating that it has taken 20 years to get to this place. And money and a dedication and voter approval and all those things. So none of this stuff happens overnight. But it is nice to see how it can be done, how awesome it can be for your community. And just it's a level of dedication that's required and that force, like really looking for the long game. Like, okay, what do we even see as board members today? How can we participate in getting us there? Because there will be other members sitting in these chairs at some point. So anyway, that was just my insight and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Very exciting to hear about the early learning center.
Oh, it's great.
Big dreams. All right, next up is our comments from our board members. I'd like to start with our student advisors. Nathan, would you like to start us off?
Sure, I don't have too much to say today. I'm forever grateful for this year, for serving as a board member this year. Also, I'm grateful for Mariska as being my senior advisor. I've learned a lot from you, Mariska. And I'm really excited to see where you go. See them as take you best.
Thank you. Very well said. Thank you. Mariska, would you like to say anything tonight?
I would love to say a few things. A very busy week. Today we had the privilege of going down to the elementary schools and middle schools and walking in our graduation wear and seeing all the smiling faces. It was fun to walk through the halls of where I once was. It feels like it was just yesterday, but all these years have gone by and it's just full circle, you know, and going back to the school, seeing the teachers that I grew up with and seeing the little kids and thinking in my head, you know, this is gonna be you one day. Just wait, it's gonna come a lot faster than you think it is. It was nice to see like they had signs that they made and I got a couple of hugs. I have a little brother in the elementary school, so I'm quite well known amongst his friends and whatnot. And even at the middle school, you know, seeing the teachers that helped shape me into the ambitious person that I am today and gave me their words of encouragement and told me reach for the stars. You know, it was nice to see them one last time before I head out of Arlington School District. We also had our senior meeting after the graduation walk, talking about the events of this week. Tomorrow is our moving up assembly. Wednesday we have our practice and Thursday it is graduation. I'm beyond excited to like come together with the class I've grown up with and see us all walk out that door. And I can't wait to see where life takes each and every one of us, you know, and it's all becoming real now. I didn't think it would be the last week that it would become real, but now is the moment that I'm like, this is it, you know, it's finally happening. So I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you. You have all been such amazing role models and you've inspired me to be a better person and care so much about the community and district and care for the well-being of our students. And I will continue to put with you what you've instilled in me, put my best efforts forward to keep that going in my life. And I thank each and every one of you, and I'm going to miss you all so very much. I will come back and visit.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Director Kelly, anything else to add?
I just was reflecting on, we had our senior walk at Lakewood, as a teacher, we had that walk and we were all on like both sides flanking, both sides and the kids walked down and I don't even know these kids and I start crying because it's just like, it's just so special to see them. Different, I saw some mortar boards that were, I'm thinking from Indigenous and they were woven and just like, oh, I've never seen that before. And that was really special for me to see. And my kids, oh my gosh, some of these kindergartners were just like randomly going up to these kids and hugging them. And the other people were just like, I'm like, I know the love that these little kids feel. It was, and the big kids like, I don't even know you. And you're just running up and hugging me. Oh my God, this is my class. We're huggers, we're huggers. And so it was just really sweet to see that. But yeah, it's a journey, you know, and I think that we can all look back at our own graduation and think about those moments of, yeah, it's a time to reflect. So.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. That's beautiful. Director Diamond, anything to add?
Yes, actually. I'm excited for you, like genuinely excited for you. This to me has been a new experience because I've only been like 6 months. And it just, the path and the trajectory that you're taking, it makes me excited kind of for your future, and I want to see kind of how that goes. You know what I mean? I want to see like the journey that you take. And so it's just me working in schools as well. I get to see the seniors going off and like just kind of realizing where I was in my high school years, and just realizing it's a jumping off point and not really the end, right? And so it's just like, if this doesn't work, like if your plan doesn't work, just keep going because it's always gonna work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for you. It was a pleasure working with you these past few months. Learned a lot from you. Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate it. And you will be missed.
Thank you, Director Diamond.
What do I say
All right.
now? You said it all.
Well, that was really great. Thank you. I do want to thank you, Mariska, for serving on our board, and not only that, but also just seeing everything that you're doing in the community and representing yourself, you know, genuinely, and the board, and it's like really amazing. And so I know that community impact will be long lasting, and that hopefully you'll stay involved in the community. So I can't wait to see. And like people always have their metaphors, right? Like jumping off point or whatever. But I remember distinctly telling my grandma when I was getting ready to graduate that I felt like I was sitting at the top of the slide, like at the playground. I was like getting ready to launch, right? So
Yeah.
that's my metaphor. And you'll have your own, I'm sure. So, and I didn't have a typical high school graduation, so it's really exciting for me to be a part every year. One of the amazing things about being a board member is seeing like these other retirees, so we kind of see like the full circle.
Yeah.
And I really, no. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that. They're also sitting at the top of the slide. But just thank you. You've opened our eyes to so many things, and I really appreciate it. You did like that.
You're all right.
Next year, Tyler Gill's even.
We'll get your speech next year.
I wanted to share just a little personal gratitude to Mariska and also to Nathan, but the rest of the board for just being so delightful to work with, and so great. Everybody's worked so hard and communicates so well, and all have the best intentions of the kids in our district. And it has been an honor and privilege to work with you, Mariska, and you are way above the level that we expect of a student. You were so mature and wise and so fun to be with, and I expect great things from you. I hope that you continue in your education. We always need nurses, so come talk to me later. So it's great to see you at the edge of the little nest that you are living in. And you're ready to flap your wings and take off and fly, and we expect great things from you, so fly, go fly.
Yeah.
It is. She did the whole eagle thing, Arlington.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Arlington.
That
Go
poetic
Eagles.
side.
I wanted to remind everybody about our next meetings that we have coming up. We have some time off because summer. So our next study session and regular meeting is on July 8th. The study session is at 4 o'clock in the Lincoln Room here upstairs. And the regular meeting will be at 6 o'clock in the boardroom. And with that, is there anything else anybody would like to mention before we have a motion to adjourn? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Knapp and seconded by Director Diamond to adjourn the meeting. Director Diamond,
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Knapp. Yes. Meeting is adjourned. Drive safe. Have a good night.